Boy, let me tell you something. I am really into Power Rangers and Super Sentai, as you who younger fans may know, or some of you have seen my edits of a Power Ranger, her being from Dino Charge, her being Kendall or Miss Morgan, also known as the Purple Dino Charge Ranger, and one of the many few Purple Rangers there actually are, seeing how in Power Rangers there are only two Purple Rangers, that being Jungle Fury, a purple who's a male, and of course Kendall being the Dino Charge Purple. Super Sentai in their hand, and there's a bunch of other Purple Rangers. However, I'm not going to count Boy Knight, seeing how he's technically not a Ranger. He's actually against the Power Rangers. So I'm not going to be counting him as a Purple Ranger. And seeing as how Super Sentai is not directly a Power Ranger, they're two different worlds, seeing as how they are having different occupants, different origin stories, different personalities, different names, and however, different personalities as well. Or did I already say that? I'm sorry if I did. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I decided soon to start making my own Super Sentai. Seeing how that's more with the origin and where Power Rangers came from. Cause sometimes the states can be more copyrighted than I can. For those of you who know, sometimes I get a bunch of copyright claims. Yeah. But I don't mean to, I swear. Anyway, Super Sentai and Power Rangers do not belong to me as a hinter, seeing as how they rightfully belong to the other owners of the state. And also the company that owns them. You know, Hasbro and stuff. Anyway, seeing as how there's also a 30th anniversary and a bunch of other projects coming up, I find might as well. So, let's get started. I'm gonna be early honest here. This video isn't really that made for many kids, mainly made for teenagers or above. So maybe someone around my age or older. I'm not gonna say what my actual age is, seeing as how I don't want to get that information away online. And seeing as how lots of people can see it and stuff. Anyway, basically this is aimed for ages 13 or below, okay? Keep that in mind. So basically, I want to come up with Super Sentai that actually made sense or could fit along with the theme of the story. Which also gave me some serious time to do, seeing as how I didn't really have that much of a big idea of what to do yet. So I thought about it for a little bit, and I came up with one. The Nephilim Sentai known as Umbra Ranger. For those of you who don't get the reference, Nephilims are basically like have angels, have demons, which I'm trying to base the Sentai off of. Now that they're called Umbra Rangers for one specific reason, and that being Umbra Witches. As some of you may know, spoilers for her Bayonetta and other Bayonetta games. Bayonetta, the character you get to play as, is an Umbra Witch and Aluminum mix, seeing as how her parents were both on opposite sides. Her father being Aluminum Sage and her mother being an Umbra Witch. However, one thing I realized is that Bayonetta was a mixture of both of them. So I decided to base them on Umbra Witches. So this might sound a little dark, but basically, the Umbra Rangers are dead spirits. Which would make sense, seeing as how they're technically based off of have angels, have demons. So, as you can see, there's probably a good reason why I made them undead spirits. The Nephilim Sentai Umbra Rangers were sent down by God himself in order to steal back the souls of the heavens. Heaven souls have gone down to earth and gone out of control and have taken over people's bodies and turned them into monsters. So, now the Nephilim Sentai Umbra Rangers are now trying to get their souls back and send them back to heaven or send them down to the underworld, depending on how many sins they've done, or they've done them for a good deed. Basically, they're sort of similar to SPD, except undead, different designs, different purposes, stuff like that. Different personalities as well. I'm going to use the fan feeds as holders, seeing as how the characters you can decide are yours to use if you want, and then those will be used in the story as well. For now, I'll have the fan feeds be their placeholders. Let's start off with Athena, our Red Ranger. And yes, I'm using my avatar as a placeholder. I couldn't think of anything else, okay? And she's the closest I can get, seeing as how my favorite color is also red. So basically, for those of you who haven't seen my Bad Apple video, the one I made about the other AUs, there's an AU where we see Athena as clarified dead. For those who didn't notice that small detail, her eyes were missing, and there was some sort of slash in the place of it. Therefore, that's the reason she died. She lost her sight and slowly died from bleeding out. So basically, her cause of death was blood loss. And as you saw, she was probably a dark angel, so she would make it perfect for the Red Ranger, seeing how she's already in between already. She can be both aggressive but kind at the same time, and is willing to do anything that it takes to protect her people. So she was seen fit as the Red Ranger by God himself. It was soon enough known as Umbran Red, and probably the first ever female Super Sentai Red Ranger. This guy is the perfect fit for the Blue Ranger. Seems how over time the Blue Rangers have been seen as sometimes more mature. And this guy's more of that. Soon enough, it took me a bit to decide what Yusuke's death would be, seeing as how I didn't get that much inspiration, and I didn't see what anyone would have, any instincts to do any harm. But then I realized something. This persona known as Ishiki Goemon was based off a famous thief who was boiled alive for his death. And yes, that is actually Japanese mythology. It's located also referenced in the game during a test or something like that. I don't quite remember. Basically, Ishiki Goemon was boiled alive. So I'll make that Yusuke's death. Seems how that's the closest I can get. So if he's seen as an undead spirit, he's seen having a bunch of burnt marks as well on his body. Also, I forgot to mention this, but Athena will also have her eyes missing as a dead spirit, but she will have her wings and dress. And the wounds will be located also by makeup, and her eyes will actually be closed instead of missing to make it more friendlier and less dark. I find Ryuji perfect to fill in the Yellow Ranger role, seeing how there's more of an equally balancedness between the female Yellow Rangers and the male Yellow Rangers. So I decided to make Ryuji a Yellow Ranger. And I found a perfect cause of death. It's sort of similar to Zenitsu when he got struck by lightning inside a tree. Except, Zenitsu's a ride and only got his hair color changed. Ryuji, on your hand, he wasn't so lucky. So he'll be a bit barbecued and also probably have some electric marks somewhere on his body to represent that death. He'll also be, sort of paralyzed sometimes during battle whenever hit by thunder. However, he will survive seeing how he's already undead. That's the only critique of the Umbra Rangers. They're based on their deaths. They'll each have some weakness that comes down from the red spirits. So they'll each have a weakness. For example, Athena is her blindness, so she has to have enhanced hearing. And Yusuke's is that he's weak to fire. He can only use ice because he was boiled alive. Ryuji's is that when he gets smited, he'll get temporarily paralyzed, or sometimes in battle when going up against an electric like angel spirit, he'll basically be mentally paralyzed or temporarily stopped, and the ranger will have to sometimes be a protective shield around him, or sometimes leave the battle in order to get Ryuji to snap out of that state. Okay, so for the Pink Ranger, of course, I had a bunch of hard times trying to decide, seeing how I wanted to originally make it a male, but I didn't have that many options that I knew about. So instead, I decided to put on for the Pink Ranger role. Seeing how she's the closest in the category. So instead, I decided that her death will be due to harassment. As we know from the Kamashita incident. And inside her school, I thought it would be something similar. And it'd be more friendlier than the previous option I was gonna have, which I'm not gonna mention. And seeing as how I want to make this as less demonetizable as possible. So here we are. She's the Pink Ranger. As you know, she died from harassment. So they're gonna be mainly only bruises on her body as a dead spirit. And some of her clothes will be torn in some places. As well, and she would have a black eye and a bloody nose. It seems how that can happen. That she probably seemed very weak and frail. However, that doesn't stop her from being one of the best fighters on the team. Her weakness would be a male monster. It seems how most of the angels are actually female. Surprisingly enough. I really get the female monsters from time to time, seeing how most of the monsters are actually male in the Sentai series. So that's why I decided to make most of the monsters in this one female. it's also so On couldn't have that much of a weakness. I couldn't also think of any other weakness, so that's why. It took me a moment, but I decided that Morgana would be the Black Ranger. Morgana, of course, would have 9 lives, meaning that he would have 9 hearts located all over his chest as a dead spirit. So meaning he would lose those 9 lives quickly. Sort of. Anyway, basically, Morgana had an owner, and he was originally a cat, so as a dead spirit, he would be like a cat humanoid, sort of. However, Morty would be just an average cat, as a dead spirit. He would have bunches of bruises on him due to pet abuse, or probably be skinny due to starvation. And that will how he died from natural causes of abuse and starvation. And yes, I know, getting quite dark here, but that's how it is. I'm trying to fit the theme here, okay? I couldn't think of anything else, okay? Hey, it's the best I can do. And the closest as well. So as you imagine, Morgana's weakness wouldn't be for his death, because then he would have a big weakness and would be the long range firer, and he wouldn't be able to fight. So instead, his weakness is dogs. Which, not surprising, is how he is a cat. And now for the Sixth Ranger. The Sixth Ranger's origin story will be different from the original Rangers. The Sixth Ranger's not like, oh, I died and I went to heaven and now God's trusting me with the power. Here's get back the original souls. No, the Gold Rangers, their story is actually a bit different. Here, you see, the Gold Ranger will be taking place as Sophie. I decided this option seeing as how I don't think there's actually a Super Sentai that actually has a female Gold Ranger, or permanent one. Don't start bragging at me or barging at me. There actually is a female Gold Ranger somewhere, or a Super Sentai that is a female Gold, because I wouldn't know. I don't fully know Super Sentai yet. Or there even is general Super Sentai things. But it's the closest thing I can get. So, here we are! So Sophie's origin story will be different. She was already completely different. However, she got her powers the same way as the original Rangers. However, her origin story is more dark. It turns out she was a robot. As her original story, however, was always a robot instead of being an AI. Just a straight up robot, walking and always. Soon enough, she gained emotions. The Rangers were watching her from above, seeing how they were looking for a Sixth Ranger, and they saw her as a perfect fit. However, seeing as how she wasn't undead, they couldn't do anything about it. So they had to keep searching. That changed, however, when her creators found out that she gained emotion. She was soon enough scratched, basically burned in lava. Soon enough, the Rangers found this, and they officially had her Sixth Ranger found. Soon enough, they brought her up. And seeing as how she had emotion, she was no accepting and for not being an angel. Therefore, he made her the Gold Ranger. Basically, she had the same system with her, like, similar to her fancy outfit, except without the mask, and it'd be more digital. Not only that, her weakness would be anything lava-related or fire-related, seeing as how then she would probably start melting or have a piece burned off. However, she could reattach due to being undead. Not only that, her dual weapons would be yo-yos. Another thing, as it turns out, I decided that there would be lava-like marks on Sophie. Now that if you burn her marks and a limb missing. And basically her left arm, or whichever you consider the left arm, depending on how people have different lefts and rights, you know. And so basically, Sophie would also be considered the younger sister of the Feast, seeing as how she's more the younger ones, and considered like a baby together. Her Rangers. Sometimes she would draw them together, and their Rangers' hearts would just melt.